What began as an innocent adventure for three friends turned into a test of survival against the unrelenting darkness, one mistake at a time. On the morning of August 20th, 2015, three 18-year-old friends in Montana excitedly planned their trip to Oyer Cave. Their hearts raced with joy and anticipation, completely unaware of the dangers that lay ahead. This excitement masked their poor planning, which would soon lead them into 24 hours of escalating terror. As they entered the cave, they had no idea that their adventure would turn into a nightmare they might never escape. Before we dive into video, please subscribe our channel. As always, viewer discretion is advised. These three friends, two boys and a girl, shared a strong bond built on trust, laughter, and shared dreams. They were like any other teenagers, full of life, curiosity, and a thirst for adventure. This trip to Oyer Cave wasn't just an outing. It symbolized their sense of freedom and the thrill of exploring the unknown. Each of them had their own unique personality that added to the group dynamic. One of the boys could be described as the fearless leader, someone who always pushed the group toward new challenges. His confidence often inspired others, but it also overlooked the dangers of certain situations. The second boy was cautious and analytical, often trying to think things through, but he was easily swayed by the excitement of the group. The girl was the glue that held them together, bringing humor and encouragement when things got tough. Their friendship was their strength, but as events unfolded, it became clear that their bond would be tested in unimaginable ways. They had been through smaller adventures before, and their previous success made them overconfident. They believed they could handle anything, but this time was different. Their lack of preparation and poor judgment would soon bring them face to face with nature's unforgiving side. However, it was this same bond that kept them going in the darkest moments, giving them hope when everything seemed lost. Their connection was their only light in the overwhelming darkness of Oyer Cave. As the sun rose on that fateful morning of August 20th, 2015, the three friends were filled with excitement for their adventure into Oyer Cave. However, beneath their thrill lay subtle hints of the dangers that awaited them. Their cheerful banter masked an underlying ignorance of the cave's risks. They laughed as they packed their backpacks, completely unaware that they were not adequately prepared for what lay ahead. The absence of helmets and extra light sources was a glaring oversight, but their eagerness blinded them to these crucial details. One of the boys jokingly told his coworker that if he didn't show up for work the next day, it would be because he was stuck in a cave. This offhand comment would later echo ominously as a sign of the peril they were about to face. As they made their way to the cave entrance, the thrill of exploration filled the air, but an unspoken tension lingered. The temperature dropped noticeably as they approached the cave, a chilling reminder that they were entering a world where nature reigned supreme. Despite their excitement, the dark mouth of the cave loomed ahead, a stark contrast to the bright Montana sky. It was an inviting yet deceptive entrance, promising adventure but hiding danger. Their excitement quickly transformed into a false sense of security, foreshadowing the terror that awaited them within the depths of Oyer Cave. Little did they know, their lack of caution would soon turn their adventure into a struggle for survival. As the friends stepped into Oyer Cave, their excitement quickly shifted to unease. The initial thrill of exploration faded as they descended deeper into the darkness. The temperature dropped sharply, chilling them to the bone, and their flashlights barely illuminated the vast, menacing void around them. Each step echoed ominously, a reminder of how isolated they were from the world above. Despite their laughter, an unsettling feeling began to creep in, warning them that they had underestimated the cave's dangers. An hour into their descent, they faced their first serious challenge, a daunting vertical drop of 30 feet. Here, their flawed plan came into play. One of the boys wedged a boat anchor into a crack in the rock, a device never meant for climbing. They tied weak knots along a flimsy rope, which was more suited for everyday chores than for life-threatening situations. The girl anxiously watched as her friends began their descent, their lives hanging by a thread of rope and faith in their makeshift gear. With each movement, the rope stretched alarmingly, and doubt filled the air. What had seemed like a fun adventure was now a terrifying gamble with their lives. The fear of falling loomed over them, growing stronger with every second they dangled over the unforgiving rocks below. As they reached the bottom, their relief was short-lived. An even more treacherous 60-foot drop awaited them. Ignoring the signs of danger, they prepared to descend again, unaware that this decision would lead them further into a nightmare. As they faced the second vertical drop of 60 feet, the atmosphere shifted from nervous anticipation to outright dread. Their flashlights struggled to pierce the darkness below, leaving them uncertain of what awaited them. Undeterred, they repeated their unsafe method of using the boat anchor as a makeshift anchor point, tossing it into the unknown. With every movement downward, the tension escalated and the risks multiplied. Halfway down, disaster struck. One of the boys lost his footing on the unstable rope, causing him to slip. In a horrifying instant, his foot slipped, sending a cascade of rocks tumbling down onto his friend below. The sharp stones struck the other boy's shoulder and arm, causing immediate pain and confusion. The injured teen let out a scream that echoed through the dark chambers of the cave, a sound filled with both agony and panic. Yet, even amidst the pain, he attempted to reassure his friends, insisting that he could still continue. This moment marked a critical turning point. The reality of their situation hit them hard. Their adventure had transformed into a life-threatening crisis. The injuries were not just physical. The severity of their predicament began to weigh heavily on their minds. As they looked at each other, a shared understanding emerged. They were not just lost in the cave, they were in serious danger. The excitement of their adventure was replaced by a deep fear that threatened to overwhelm them. Each moment became a reminder of their poor planning and the realization that they might not escape the cave unscathed. As the darkness enveloped them deeper within Ore Cave, a profound sense of isolation began to settle in. The initial excitement of exploration had vanished, replaced by an overwhelming fear that clawed at their minds. The girl, separated from her friends during the descent, found herself in an endless maze of identical rock formations and twisting passages. Panic gripped her as she realized she had lost her way. With her flashlight flickering dangerously low, the dim beam illuminated only fragments of the cave's vastness, leaving her feeling utterly alone in the suffocating darkness. Each wrong turn deepened her sense of disorientation, as if the cave itself was toying with her, leading her further from safety. The absolute silence was deafening, broken only by the distant echoes of her own footsteps. The darkness became a living entity, threatening to swallow her whole. Hours passed, and her anxiety spiraled, feeding on the cold and the creeping dread of being trapped. Without backup batteries or another light source, her situation grew increasingly desperate. Meanwhile, the two boys struggled with their own fears. Trapped at the bottom of the second drop, they felt the cold seeping into their bones, numbing their fingers and draining their strength. The isolation weighed heavily on them, amplifying the pain of their injuries and their growing realization that help was far away. The chilling air stung their skin, and every breath became a reminder of their vulnerability. They could only call out for their friend above, each shout echoing back as a haunting reminder of their dire situation. The darkness and cold pressed down upon them, igniting a primal fear that threatened to consume their very spirits. As the hours dragged on, the chilling reality of their situation sunk deeper into their minds. The cave's relentless cold seeped into their bones, and their bodies began to succumb to exhaustion. With their breath visible in the frigid air, they faced a horrifying truth. They lacked the strength to climb back up. Each attempt to ascend only left them more fatigued, their muscles weakened by the biting cold and the weight of hopelessness. In a moment of sheer desperation, they made a catastrophic decision. With panic overtaking reason, they cut their safety rope into 6-inch pieces, believing they could use the small lengths to start a fire for warmth. The flames danced briefly, providing a flicker of hope against the suffocating darkness, but this was short-lived. As they burned the rope, they realized too late that they were destroying their only lifeline, their only means of escape. The smoke filled the air, burning their lungs and making breathing increasingly difficult. What should have been a source of warmth turned into another layer of despair. The short-lived flames offered little relief, and the smoke only added to their growing sense of panic. They huddled together, their hearts racing as they felt the weight of their decision. The cave's cold stone floor was unforgiving, and their hope began to fade. The emotional and physical toll of their ordeal was heavy, and they could feel the darkness closing in around them, both outside and within. As the night wore on, they faced the terrifying prospect of spending the night in the cave, with their only source of warmth reduced to ashes. Just as despair threatened to consume the trapped teenagers, the world above began to take notice. When one of the boys failed to show up for work the next day, his coworker's concern grew. Remembering the joking comment about being stuck in a cave, the coworker felt a sense of urgency. He drove to the boy's house, only to find it empty. With growing worry, he made his way to Oyer Cave, where he discovered their truck parked nearby, its presence a clear sign that the friends had ventured inside. Without hesitation, he entered the cave mouth, calling out into the darkness. Moments later, he found the girl wandering aimlessly, exhausted and terrified. Her face was marked by fear and desperation, as she explained that her friends remained trapped below. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the coworker immediately called for help, and the emergency response team sprang into action. First responders Duncan Adams and Kathy Wagan from Lewis and Clark Search and Rescue arrived equipped with professional gear suited for cave rescues. Unlike the teens, they had the training and tools necessary to navigate the dangers of the cave. With a sense of determination, they called down into the depths, hearing the faint, hoarse responses of the trapped teens. The boys' voices were weak from shouting and filled with exhaustion, hunger, and the toll of the cold. As more rescuers arrived, they quickly established a plan to retrieve the stranded friends. Using safety ropes and harnesses, they set up elaborate hauling systems, ready to face the challenges ahead. The rescue team worked tirelessly, determined to bring the teens back from the brink, while the trapped friends clung to the fragile hope that help was finally on the way. The tension reached its peak as the rescue team prepared to extract the trapped teenagers from the depths of Oyer Cave. Each second felt like an eternity as the rescuers worked meticulously to secure the ropes and harnesses necessary for a safe ascent. The boys, huddled together in the cold, could hardly believe that help had finally arrived. Their faces were pale, lips blue from the biting chill, and they were physically and emotionally drained from their ordeal. One rescuer descended into the darkness, carefully navigating the vertical drops to reach the boys. With every step, the weight of their situation became clearer, and the reality of their near escape loomed large. As the rescuer reached them, he quickly assessed their condition, noting the burned remnants of the rope scattered around, a stark reminder of the panic that had nearly sealed their fate. The realization that they had come so close to disaster weighed heavily on everyone involved. Once secured in the harnesses, the boys were slowly lifted towards safety. The ascent was challenging, even for the experienced rescuers, as they maneuvered through narrow passages and worked against the clock. The boys clung to hope, feeling the rope tighten as they were pulled upward, inching closer to the light above. Each upward movement was a battle against fatigue, fear, and the memories of their terrifying night spent in the cave. Finally, after 4 grueling hours of rescue efforts, the boys emerged from the darkness into the blinding daylight. They squinted against the sun, overwhelmed by a wave of relief and disbelief. The warmth of the sun felt foreign after their long night in the cold. Medical personnel rushed to wrap them in thermal blankets, addressing their hypothermia and shock. In that moment, they realized they had narrowly escaped a fate far worse than just a night in the cave. They had faced the abyss and emerged, forever changed by the experience. As the dust settled from their harrowing ordeal, the 3 friends were left to reflect on their experience in Oyer Cave. What had started as a thrilling adventure transformed into a life-altering lesson about the importance of preparation and respect for nature's power. The emotional toll of spending 24 hours in darkness, cold, and fear had etched itself into their memories. Each of them grappled with the weight of their choices, realizing that their overconfidence and lack of proper gear had almost cost them their lives. In the days following their rescue, the teens expressed profound gratitude for the dedicated rescuers who risked their own safety to bring them back to the surface. They understood that their friendship had been tested in unimaginable ways, but it also emerged stronger. Each friend had played a crucial role in supporting one another, even in their darkest moments, and the bond they shared became the beacon of hope that guided them through the nightmare. The rescue team hoped that their experience would serve as a powerful reminder to others about the dangers of cave exploration. The teens learned firsthand that adventure should never come at the expense of safety. As they moved forward, they vowed to share their story, hoping to educate others about the necessity of proper preparation and equipment when venturing into the wild. The darkness of Oyer Cave would forever remain a haunting memory, but it also sparked a commitment to respecting nature and embracing the great outdoors responsibly. The harrowing experience in Ware Cave taught the teenagers a crucial lesson. Never underestimate nature's dangers. Proper preparation, safety equipment, and respect for the environment are essential for any adventure. Their ordeal highlighted the importance of making informed choices, emphasizing that overconfidence can lead to life-threatening situations.